Hey everybody, and welcome to another live edition of the Sewing Report. This week we're going to be talking about selling your handmade and sewn items. Is it worth it? Should you do it? Can you be successful? That's a question that I've been wondering since I started sewing and quilting. And hold on just a second, I'm just going to log into YouTube on my computer right here. And sorry we're starting a little bit late this week. Strangely, I had to find a box to put my tripod on. I know that sounds very high-tech, but we're in the craft room this week, and after we get done with the show, I'm actually going to be taping some videos for Sewing Report. So I thought I would do it in here. I've got all the lights set up and everything. Hopefully I don't look too scary this week, but we're gonna give that a go. And I have linked some stuff down below. I've linked a couple of articles I've written in the past about selling items. One of the first things I did as sort of a blogger was writing an article about quilting called QUILTONOMICS, the real cost of quilts. I talked to a bunch of professional quilters to see, kind of how they made their living, and the results were very interesting. Only, I think maybe 2 of them actually sold quilts, and they said it was very difficult. And actually one of them, Susie Quilts, who you probably know from Instagram and from her blog, she's actually really not selling quilts anymore. But I originally kind of found her when she was still doing it, and I talked to her because she actually charged a real price for her quilts. Like, I think her baby quilt started at like $350, which personally I think is a good starting point for quilts. I wouldn't charge less than $300 for any quilt, just because of the time it takes. But I see them all the time on Etsy for $75 or $100, and I'm wondering, how are these people making any money? Because just when you add in the cost of your time and materials, it's far more than $100. So I kind of wonder more like if those people are just shortchanging themselves. I mean, even if you got the fabric for free, it would still cost quite a bit of your time, your materials, your skills. So that's why I think that, and I think that's a problem with our space. I think there's a real issue with people not realizing the value of handmade items, or not really getting, the time it takes. Oh, sorry. I've got got the volume on my computer. Sorry, guys. But all right, so now I can see all of your comments, so feel free to comment with your thoughts. And I really wanted this to be a conversation because I'm someone who has never really tried to have a handmade business. So that's why I wanted to get opinions of people who've done it and who may have succeeded or failed. Let me know what your experience was, if, how your handmade business went, if you made any money. And I was even talking to someone, I won't name them, but they had a handmade business for several years, and they said they never really made a profit. Like, I'm sure they probably covered their expenses, but they said that business was tough. So I think that's something that a lot of people have experienced in the handmade world. Like, if you sell on Etsy, or if you sell in a Facebook group, or if you sell things on Instagram, I do think it's very challenging for someone who makes handmade items to make a real living for. And I'm not just talking like a minimum wage type living, but something that really sustains you. And then there's the whole issue that I know that people have talked about, where they're just being undercut by people that are just selling things cheaper than them, which is definitely an issue as well, because obviously the people that are charging so little, they're not accounting for their time or their real costs either. Maybe, so I think there's a lot of moving parts of this area, and I don't think there's any easy answers. So that's really what I wanted to talk about today. I know last week, when we were talking about, about these issues as well, about saying no, that was something that kept coming up over and over again, was just selling items. So I thought this would be a good topic for this week to talk about selling items. Have you ever sold items, and what was your experience like? I know I've heard a lot of stories from people in various Facebook groups and even right here, and some of them positive, some of them negative. So let me know what your experience has been. All right, we got Gay here. Hello. Yes, and that's a good thing to bring up. This is the 4th of July weekend. Obviously, I'm celebrating by spending it inside with you guys and sewing, which is my idea of a party. So hey, and if Betsy Ross can sew, you know what? We can too. So we're just continuing the American tradition, right? That's what I think. So if you're watching right now, I think there's 10 of you watching. Thank you very much. And a happy holiday weekend if you're here in the States. And let me know, let me know what you think about this issue. If if you've ever been interested in selling handmade items, if you're not interested, I want to know, just kind of what your thoughts are. And I think it's something that we deal with a lot because whenever you tell someone you sew, they seem to automatically assume that you sell what you make. And a lot of us here, I know we make things for ourselves, we do selfish sewing, and then we make things as gifts. But I personally don't sell anything, and I've never really wanted to sell anything just because I feel like there's too much pressure with it. Like, I think once you start introducing money, that's when people can get kind of nitpicky, and then, something you're trying to do for them that's nice turns into something that ends up being a bad experience for you. We've got Claudine here. Hello, Claudine. And welcome to everyone watching. If you're watching it live or if you're watching it on the replay later, welcome. I'm Jennifer Moore with the Sewing Report. Yeah, I know I should have introduced myself at the start, but I didn't. And every week I try to do a live show at 3 p.m. Eastern, and we talk about various issues affecting us as the sewing community. Sometimes they're fun things, sometimes they're things like this that are a little more serious. I obviously am kind of an unusual. I don't take myself too seriously, so we're gonna have some fun in here. And also, if you have an idea for a future show topic, let me know in the comments as well, because I really want to have this be a conversation for all of us to chat and have a place to air out our thoughts, but I want to focus on topics that you're actually interested in. So if there's something that I haven't done as a show topic yet, but you would like to see it, let me know. And I have figured out a very low-tech way of saving all the comments in the live chat. So once this stream is over, I can go through and copy and paste all of the comments and then put it as the first comment on the replay video. It's a little low-tech. The formatting's a little funky, but at least the comments are there, because I know it's kind of difficult when you're watching this live. You like reading the comments, and a lot of us want to go back and see the comments after the show. And for those who didn't catch it live, they want to see the comments as well, because I reference them a lot. So I found a way to do this. It's not the prettiest format, but it works, so we're gonna go with that for now. Hello, we've got Champagne Twist, we've got Nellie, Marie, and Melita. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm really, really bad with pronunciating like names and places, so feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong about a lot of things, but that's just the way it is. But anyways, I want to talk about just our experiences with selling things. Have you tried? And also, I'm sure you've gotten a lot of comments. As soon as you say you sew, people start asking you to do things for them, or they tell you immediately that you should start selling them on Etsy. Like, people will be like, you could totally sell those, or you could, why don't you open up an Etsy shop? And that's what I want to know. Is it that easy? For those of you who sell on Etsy or have sold on Etsy, I'd love to know more about your challenges and experiences. I've heard it's pretty difficult, especially now there's so many sellers on Etsy. I've heard it's kind of hard to stand out, so you need to really market yourself. Obviously, it seems like the bar is very high for photographs. Everyone on Etsy has beautiful photography, and if you don't, you're probably not going to get any sales. Sort of like on Instagram, how there's this pressure to have all these perfect photos, photo shoots and using editing software and doing all this crazy stuff and just showing. I heard, I think it was Gary Vaynerchuk that said Instagram is like a museum and Snapchat is like a hangout, a place where you can hang out. And I do find that to be true, and sort of the same thing with Instagram stories, that, Instagram is for the best of the best curated content. It's got to be on brand and all this other jazz, and then Instagram stories and Snapchat is supposed to be for the more casual conversation. So, I don't really hold to that too much. If I want to post a picture on Instagram and it's not perfect, I'm going to post it anyways. Just because I'm not an Instagram model, and I don't always have time to take nice photos or want to take the effort. Sometimes if I've got the time and energy, I will take nicer photographs. If not, I'm sure you guys will understand too. All right, we've got Carol here. Oh, thank you very much. I like hearing your thoughts on sewing. And Carol, I'd love to hear your thoughts on sewing. And also, for everyone watching, I want to ask a couple questions. One, have you ever sold handmade sewn items? Two, are you considering it? And three, and if you have, what have your experiences been like? And if you're not, how do you, it seems like everyone is just under pressure or, people try to talk you into selling things all the time. Like, for instance, I made these little sandwich baggies a few weeks ago. So it's like laminated cotton, and then there's PUL fabric, like the kind used in cloth diapers. And these are like little snack bags, and I made them to put my sandwiches in. And I brought them into work, and people immediately started asking me if I could make them one. And I will say, I would make some as gifts, and I'm considering making some of these as gifts for people. But I don't think I would charge them for them. I think I would just want to make them on my own time. Just for, just as a fun project. Like, for instance, today last night I didn't get a lot of sewing done. I did make myself, if you're wondering how the handmade wardrobe project is going, I did make one pair of underwear yesterday. It's hipster panties, and I'm going to be making some more today and shooting the process as sort of a sew-along video. I also cut out a bunch of knit fabric for other, like I cut out a Grainline Studio Linden sweatshirt out of the same fabric. I have a lot of this leftover knit, and then I also cut out a couple baby pant hat sets. So I'm going to try to sew them pretty quickly all at once, but I would like to try to shoot them so that you can see, just so you can see the process. And you can't see this right now, but I'm surrounded by a serger on this side and a cover stitch machine on this side, all on one table. So it's a pretty interesting setup today. All right, we've got Zoe. I don't think people value handmade items as much anymore. I always see people selling items at craft fairs and not making many sales. And Zoe, I would agree with you to definitely to some extent. My aunt makes moccasins, and I have a friend who knits items, stuffed toys, toques, scarves. I have some friends who've purchased items from Etsy and loved their items. They had to wait longer for the items to be made, but they were well made. Carol, I have done some limited machine embroidery, but way too much pressure when doing on items that I might mess up. And that's another thing. If you're doing alterations or someone gives you something to fix or change, you just feel so stressed out because you don't want to ruin the item, especially if it's a friend of yours or family member. All right, champagne twist. I agree, Zoe. Handmade versus machine made. There's more financial value placed on machine made, sadly. And that's very true because when you're making anything by hand, it's just not going to be perfect. You're not a robot. You're only a human. And I think that's something that people need to keep in mind. All right, we've got Melita. I considered selling quilts, but I put too much of my heart into each quilt to sell them for a low price. The people in my circle assumed I would sell them for around $30. All right, what planet are they living on? That's nuts. That is insane. As Douglas folks just want cheap clothes, it saddens me so much. And it saddens me too because the clothing is so, like when I look at clothing in stores now, it is so low quality, it's not even funny. Like I'll feel the fabric and it just feels real like crappy, like real rough to the touch, not soft. Like this is some organic cotton I got from Cloud9 and it just feels so nice on the skin. And I also really like cotton fabrics and natural fibers. And when you look at the labels on ready-to-wear clothing, it's almost all polyester. And if you haven't checked out, there's another seamstress on YouTube, Lisa Emerita, Emerita, and she did a really interesting video about ethical fashion. And when you're wearing polyester, it's basically the equivalent of wearing a trash bag. It's plastic. So people are paying, and in some of the polyester clothing I see on like Nordstrom or other websites, like it's not cheap. It's like $100 for a dress. And so people are paying $100 to wear the equivalent of a trash bag. I mean, sure, it looks nicer and it's, colorful or whatever. It's got a fun print, but the fabric is just not very good quality. It's polyester. All right, we've got Champagne Twist. There is not theirs. Auto Text. Oh, I know Auto Text is the worst Champagne Twist. I adore the fact that someone took the time and effort to make me something by hand. I still have many of the clothes my mom made me when I was little. Oh, that's so sweet. And I was actually talking to, all right, so this is kind of exciting. This does not really have to do with our topic, but it does have to do with sewing. I recently was talking to two friends I had from college. And so the one gal I kind of lost touch with, but we became Facebook friends this week. And she has started quilting and sewing, and I'm so excited about that. This gal is has such a like wonderful spirit to her, and I always enjoyed our conversations in college. She's a really great person, and I remember one of my college memories. She had a sewing machine, and she was one of those people, like, I think, like, she was kind of always doing stuff up to the wire, but that's how she worked best. And I remember her sewing a bridesmaid dress for herself, like trying to do it super quickly. So I remember her sewing at some point. I don't think we ever had any conversations about sewing, but I remember her trying to frantically make her own bridesmaid dress for a wedding. And I thought that was kind of awesome. So I was looking at her Facebook page, and I noticed she had posted a bunch of photos of her with the quilt she made, which was awesome. And then I noticed she had posted another photo of some pillows she made with some cute pom-pom trim. And she and another lady were hosting a social Saturday where they were inviting women to someone's house, and they were gonna all make pillows. So that was kind of neat to run into someone from my past who is also who's getting into sewing. And it seems like something more recent, but I was quite tickled that someone else I actually know, was into sewing. And then another gal, and we were all in the same sorority. I know I was in a sorority in college, but a disclaimer, it was not like a national sorority. My college could only have local sororities, and our sorority was pretty low key. And also I went to a Presbyterian college in Pennsylvania. So it was not like it was not like the movie like The House Bunny or anything, or like any of those other college movies with horror movies from sorority houses. But another girl, she was my big in the sorority, and she and I have been talking this week, and she has been making clothing for her kids. So she made a couple dresses for her daughter, and then she made her kids some pillowcases. And we were chatting, and she's like, I don't really have a lot of time to sew, but that just makes it more special because, every item I do make is, takes a lot of time, and she puts a lot of attention into it. And I was just so excited to hear that from someone else who's in my age range that's getting into sewing. So maybe it's catching on here in the States. I don't know. We'll see. All right, we got a couple other comments. Zoe, I wouldn't sell a quilt for less than $600. Just to get a queen size quilted inexpensively could be $100. That is so true, especially if you're getting your quilts long armed. It is going to be it's going to be expensive, but you do get what you pay for. You save a lot of time. And in hindsight, I purchased a Janome 7700 sewing machine because under the thought I was going to quilt my own quilts. I've quilted like one or two quilts on it. And in hindsight, I should have bought a cheaper sewing machine, like maybe one of those like Jukies that everybody has. And I should have actually just pieced the tops and then use that money to pay for a long armor to save me some time. In hindsight, I do wish I had done that. All right, we got Nelly. Sometimes because they're your friends, they want them for free. Ugh. And I think it depends. It's up to you. Like, do you want to give away your work? Do you want to gift it? Or do you want to charge for it? Like, I think that's something that's very personal. And I think that's something that you have to decide for yourself. We got, people seem to spend a lot of money on clothes that fall apart, says Zoe. I love a well-made fitted garment. I would agree with you. Just the clothing, since I started sewing my own clothing, you start to really see everything that's wrong with clothes at the mall, clothes at Target, and you could make it better yourself. Again, I made some of my own underwear. I made a pair of underwear yesterday, and like the elastic band, it just feels so nice against my skin. It fits well, and I could customize it, and I could make it in any fabric I wanted and put fun trims on it. So look for some more underwear videos because they're coming. All right, we got Champagne Twist. Maybe some people associate throwaway fashion with handmade clothes. If the case, the association needs to change, and how. All right, Melita's got to go. All right, see you later, Melita. So Champagne Twist, I do have a couple thoughts on this. I have written about this on my blog. If you haven't seen it yet, check out sewingreport.com and look for the editorial section. That's where I've written some of my opinion pieces. I do have some very strong opinions. I think if we want people to value what we do and we want people to pay the prices that we would need to charge, we have to market quilts and handmade items as a luxury item. Not some like cheap craft show thing, but like something very high end and something that screams like couture. And I also think I was talking to a friend of mine. He actually does not sew, but he was interested in it. I know, a guy interested in sewing. And he was even pointing out, he's like, I think the wording associated with sewing needs to change. Like, instead of saying handmade, you say handcrafted, or he was even suggesting the terms bespoke, couture, things that really kind of speak to that, like, kind of more hoity-toity crowd. I do think bespoke is a good word. And also bespoke seems kind of gender neutral, whereas I think a lot of the terms people use in sewing, like seamstress, seems very feminine. So I do think that kind of scares some of the guys away. But I think if you're using words, like custom couture, bespoke, I really like the word bespoke, actually. I think we need to elevate what we do so that it is seen as a luxury item. And I wrote that in the QUILTONOMICS article. And actually, a friend of mine, Justin, he's on Instagram at Keaton Quilts, like Diane Keaton, the actress. He does commission work. He does commission quilting, but he charges real prices. Like, he doesn't charge $50. And I think that's one reason why he is taken seriously as an artist too, is that he is charging prices that are commensurate for someone of his skill set. Although he also uses like all Liberty of London fabrics, so he definitely has done a good job with his personal branding and also of marketing himself as basically art you can cuddle with. He's marketing himself as a real artist. And I think that's something that's really worked for him. If you haven't seen his quilts, check them out. His use of Liberty of London fabrics is amazing. And he's also going to be featured in a future sewing report video. He and I are doing sort of a collaboration. So I've got to work on my part of it. But in a few weeks, you should see Keaton Quilts featured here on Sewing Report. So I'm just going to leave it at that. But I think he's someone who has done a good job of being able to sell himself as a personal brand and also just be able to market his quilts as something that he can sell for a high dollar. So I think he's a great example of that. All right, we've got a couple more comments. Champagne Twist. If friends want you to work for them for free just because they are your friends, maybe it's time to examine the relationship and ask if they're being fair to you or if they value the friendship. I think that's a good question, especially if people are always taking advantage of you. That's not cool. And like, if your friend was like a doctor or a dentist, you wouldn't be constantly going to them asking for, a free cavity filling or a free surgery. Like, you don't do that to other people, but why do people feel like they can do it to people who sew or make things? I don't understand it. Zoe, if you can make as many of the same fitted garment as you want, you can make one in every color for each day. Zoe, that is a good point. And by the way, there's going to be a lot more, hopefully, garment videos here on Sewing Report. A few months ago, I made a video about how I was going to make my own handmade wardrobe, and I have been doing that. I think the only items that are still on my bucket list are swimwear and bras, which I do have a pattern for swimwear. I'm hoping to get to it at some point. I never really go swimming, so maybe I'll do it at a weird time, like around Christmas or something, and people will be like, why is she posting a swimsuit video in December? But you know what? I'm just helping you get ready for bathing suit season, everybody. All right, Zoe, haute couture. Yes, I think that's high sewing, high dressmaking, high fashion is the creation of exclusive custom-fitted clothing. And I think that's what we need to be marketing ourselves as for people to really take us seriously. So I think that's something that as a community, just little by little, I think that's something we need to work on and we need to constantly keep in mind. Because if we don't, nobody's ever going to be able to sell anything because no one's going to value what we do. Like, for instance, I was thinking about this. If you could sell a quilt for $10,000 every time, do you know how many more people would be into quilting just because they're like, oh, I can sell quilts for $10,000, I'll give it a shot. But because people are having a hard time selling quilts and handmade items, I do think that is a detriment to people, the amount of people who are interested in doing it. So I think the more elevated and the more we can market what we do as a high-end luxury activity, I think the more people it will attract. I mean, everyone wants one of those Birkin bags or a Chanel bag, but, are you really that, there's really no cult following for, like, bags from, from some cheap no-name brand. Everyone wants that name brand status symbol. So I think we need to market sewing as sort of a status symbol. Kind of like how people see golf as being for businessmen, or like tennis being kind of like a highbrow activity. I think sewing and quilting needs to be marketed as a sort of one of those higher end status symbol activities, like going to private school or something like that. I don't know, I'm just talking here, but I think you get what I'm saying. All right, we got Zoe. I also think people making things need to have confidence in their works, and I think that's a good thought, Zoe. So yeah, so we are talking about selling handmade items, selling it. Should you and also if you do sell things, or if you have sold things, how did you sell them? Did you sell them through an Etsy shop? Did you sell them on a Facebook page? I know a lot of people are selling things via their Facebook pages, and I've even seen a lot of people selling things on Instagram. And oh, by the way, last week, I know we were kind of talking, and this was just sort of a random idea I had, was for me to do like sort of a social experiment and try to sell things and then report back to you. I think I'm actually going to do it. So I set up a new Instagram account, and I've linked it below in the description box along with some other tidbits of information for this week. I've set up a new Instagram account at Sewing Report Shop, and I'm gonna try some things out. Like for all those, and that's the thing. I think if anything, if I don't sell things, I think I'll be able to at least have a comeback when people are like, "Oh, you could totally sell those." Then I can say, "Well, actually, I tried to sell these and no one bought them," and then they're not gonna have a response. But I set up an Instagram account, Sewing Report Shop. And coming soon, you're welcome to follow me there to see what I'm doing there. I'm going to be destashing some of my fabric and sewing patterns. So when I first started out sewing, I was mostly making quilting items and like bags and stuff like that. So I have a massive amount of quilting cotton, and I'm going to be destashing some of that there. So if you're looking for some really cool out of print quilting fabrics, stay tuned because I've got some cute stuff to post. I will only be shipping to the United States just because there is a very prohibitive cost for me to shipping overseas, and I don't want to have to worry about like customs or like getting lost, and I think the chances of that are too great. So for those of you not in the United States, I'm sorry. I wish I could ship more outside, maybe at some point, but right now it's gonna have to be stateside. Oh, thank you, Champagne Twist. But I'm going to be destashing fabric, sewing patterns. I have a lot of sewing patterns that I bought initially, but probably will never make or will never have the time for. Yeah, I know. That's the story of my life. And in hindsight, I was like, why did I even buy all this quilting cotton to begin with? Like, I have way too much. So I'm really trying to destash and kind of pare down my collection to only fabrics that I like absolutely have to have. So I'm going to be destashing a lot of it and destashing a lot of sewing patterns. And occasionally on that account, I think I'm going to use it as a social experiment to try to see if I can sell random handmade things, maybe like this, I don't know, on the account and see if anyone buys them but here's the thing. I'm going to charge actual prices. I'm not going to charge like $5 for this. I'm not going to charge $5 in free shipping for this. So I'm going to use it as a social experiment to see, can you really sell things? Does it work? Because I feel like people who don't sew, they automatically assume you can sell items like this, just like that. When is it really that easy? And that's the thing. I don't have experience in that area. But I've made a conscious decision that I'm going to get some experience. So I'm going to try to sell some things. I don't know what they will be. They might be like, I think they're going to be mostly stuff like for like that I have like scrap projects. Like this is a good scrappy project. Also coasters are a good one. And also those are things that are easily mailable. And I think I might try to do like I use a lot of knit fabrics, and I use the scraps to make baby items because a lot of the pieces are too small for adult size items, but they're perfect to make a baby hat or a pair of baby pants. So we're going to try it out and see how it goes. And I'm going to keep you updated. I'm going to document. I'm going to report back and maybe in another live show give you updates on you know, my personal experience with trying to sell stuff. So we'll see how that goes. This could be a horrible idea. This could be an okay idea. I don't know, but we're gonna give it a try. All right, so we got Anitra here. Hello. Yeah, selling is such a hit and miss topic. I guess you have to find the right market and marketing strategy. I have to say that labeling your products to give them a professional look is a must. That is true. And you know what, Anitra, I do have those new labels from Dutch Label Shop, so hopefully maybe I can get those on, you know, like you can see Made by Sewing Report on the back of that, right? I don't know. So I'm going to try to make some random stuff. Like I know I don't have a lot of time to begin with, but we're going to give it a try. Also, I'm trying to make my own clothes, so I don't really have time to do like anything, but we're going to, I don't know, we'll find, I'll somehow find the time. And I might try just a couple items, and basically I'm just going to see if I can sell stuff on Instagram using a PayPal account and my wits, and we're going to see what happens. So it's going to be an experiment, one that I'm interested in trying. All right, we've got Champagne Twist. I would be very interested to see what happens. I tried to destash my insane fabric collection on Instagram, and it didn't do as well as I hoped. I hope you have better luck. I'm seriously thinking of creating an Etsy shop to destash. And Champagne Twist, tell me, how did the Instagram thing go for you with the destash account? I've noticed there's a few hashtags for destashing, but like, did people flake out on you? Like, I know I'm going to put something like you have 24 hours to pay the invoice, otherwise it goes to the next person. We'll see what happens. And I personally have bought things on Instagram before from people using that method. But let me know what you think. I think the only reason I don't want to start an Etsy shop, I think, is mostly because of, I don't know, I don't want to have to get like a business license at this point. This is just something I'm doing to like, it's more like a garage sale, slash me going to a craft show. I don't know. So, Champagne Twist, what happened to you on Instagram? I want to know. So, and if you do sell, if you have an Etsy shop, or if you've had an Etsy shop, or if you've had any sort of handmade business, tell me in the comments, what was that business? What were you selling? What were you charging? And what kind of results did you get? Like, are you still in business? Did you find that it just didn't go that well or as well as you hoped? Was it wildly successful? I want to know. And if you want to see more videos like this and you like this live show, be sure to hit that like button on the video, and feel free to subscribe if you'd like to see more shows like this and also more random videos about sewing that I put out. That'll be there too every Thursday. All right, Champagne Twist, I got loads of likes but few purchases. Those who did purchase paid quickly, and everything from that side was fine, just too few purchasers. Okay, I can see that. So you think maybe Etsy would be a better platform? I'm going to give it a try on Instagram, and if not, maybe I'll do it on my maybe I'll post the same thing on Facebook and basically say, you know, whoever's first, you know, does that. Although I have more Instagram followers than Facebook fans, and maybe I'll even try to do a sale on here on YouTube. So this is going to be a big experiment, so bear with me. If you're like, what the heck is she doing? Just know it's kind of part of this experiment. I'm just trying to see what happens if I personally try to sell things, and I'll report back. I'll let you know like what sold, you know, what kind of prices I had to charge, and if you would like to be a customer and you'd like to get some of my old fabric, not old fabric, but just loved fabric. And by the way, I do keep my fabric. It's all been kept in a glass cabinet. I keep it very nice, and it's a room that I do not let my cat in, so it's pet-free, smoke-free. It's okay. All right, so Denitra says Etsy is more of a commitment, and I agree. Etsy does seem like something that it wouldn't be something where you just post everything once in a while. It's something where you need to have like a legit storefront, and that's something I am not doing at this time and don't really have an interest in. Champagne Twist says give it a try. If nothing else, you will learn a lot from the experience and have some fun to boot. And that's true. I just want to see, and also I really do need to destash my fabric collection. It is very much out of control, and I need to keep it in check. All right, and we've got a very bad connection. This might get lost, so if so, we might have to pick this up next week. So if I do get lost, or if this does drop out, I am sorry. But thank you guys for joining me so much this week. But yeah, please let me know. Let's have the comments be a place for the discussion, and let me know if you've had experience with selling things. I will see you guys all next week, and have a good 4th of July if you are in the States. All right, I'll see you next time.